Right, this is the next day after the last video. I'm getting through this quickly. I got the metal fabrication base that I deal with to cut a 300mm wide strip of 5mm steel. So in the UK, our steel sizes are metric now, but they're based on 4x8 sheets from years ago. So they're 1250 by 2550 millimeters. So this strip is 1250 long, and they've literally taken a whole sheet and just chopped the end off with a guillotine. And so what I've got there is a 5mm thick sheet, which is 300mm high, which is the height that I need. So all I've got to do is just slice it. I've also got 2 paving slabs. My Weber fell over, so I have to pick that back up. It looks a bit sad like that. So I'm going to go and drag all this through into the workshop, and we'll see how it looks. So stupidly, I only bought 2 tiles, and I should have known better than that, because they're 400mm square and this is 850 long, so they're not going to fit. I need to cut some up. The problem I've got is if I put 2 tiles in, I'm going to end up with a 50mm gap, and if I cut a strip of tile at 50mm, it's going to be very narrow and I think quite prone to breaking. So what I'm going to have to do is get another tile, and instead of just cutting 1 tile and having a thin strip, I'll have to cut 2 tiles and have 2 thicker strips. And I need to decide if I'm going to put the thin strips under the Bresero or the thin strips under the cooking area, because I think it'll make a difference, because obviously where the Bresero is, all the heat's going to be going onto the tile that's directly below it, which is more likely to crack. So if any tile cracks, I'd rather it was this one, as in a full-size tile, because I can just go to B&Q, buy another one for £2 and just change the whole tile. If one I've cut cracks, that means I've got to cut another one to fit. So I think I've answered my own question there. I think I'll have a full-size tile under the Bresero and then have 2 tiles that fill this gap in. The tile's pretty thick. It didn't say on the B&Q website what the thickness of the tile was, but it must be about 30mm, and it's really not left much of a lip behind. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but we'll find out. There's also a choice of 2 textures. There's like lumpy, bumpy, sort of kitchen roll, kitchen tile texture, or big dots. These are really cheap tiles. I'm glad they fit. There's a bit of a gap, and all the ash will go down there, but I don't think that matters. I don't want them to be too in there, because obviously when this gets hot, the tile's probably going to creak around and move a bit. The frame's going to expand and contract a bit. I don't want it to be tight in there. The other thing that people are going to say is that these are going to crack. I've used these before in a brick smoker that I made, and I had one of these as the lid to the firebox, and it got so hot it was basically glowing. Like, we actually had it glowing at one point. And it did crack eventually, but it had to get very hot before it cracked. The only thing I will do is, if this cracks this way, it's just going to fall through, and that would be a major pain if that happens while you're cooking on it. If it cracks that way, it's not so bad, because the 2 separate pieces will stay on. So what I need to do is have a support that goes up this way, so that if the tile cracks while you're cooking on it, it's got something to rest on and it will stay there. Maybe even 2, one here and one here, so that the tile's got something to rest on. Otherwise, if you're cooking away on it and then all of a sudden the tile cracks and it falls through, it's game over really, isn't it? That'd be a pain. So I think those are right. I need to go to B&Q and get another one. Should have got 3, it's my fault. So I can put that away now. I don't need to do anything with the tiles now, and I can just get on with doing this, the side wall of the Bresero, and then the back wall, and then the other side wall in the front. And then we'll see how it looks. It worked out that out of this sheet, which is 1250 long, as we were saying, I can get both sides and the back and the front out of just one sheet, with about 3 inches or whatever to spare at the end. So what we need to do is measure inside and inside here. Now there's a little radius in the corner, which is just a product of the way the material's been made. And so that means that the sheet won't go all the way up into the corner. So that means that even though I've budgeted for 300mm, it will be less than that. Sorry, 400mm. It will be less than that, because you've got minus the thickness of the material at both ends, which is 8mm lost already. And then you've got minus a bit for that radius. So we need to measure. Okay. Right. expected. So 40mm will actually be the right size. That worries me. Okay, well, I was a bit worried then that the thing wasn't square, but just ended up a little bit bigger. Right, okay, so we'll do a strip at 40mm. So I need to set that up, and we'll cut that now. Plasma cutter. I've set a straight edge up with a square. This is stainless. I find it's best to use something other than mild steel because the sparks that come out kind of get stuck to the mild steel, and you end up with the cup, the little nozzle getting stuck to it. So stainless or aluminium works much better. I've marked from the end 400 plus 3 because that is just over 6mm. So by the time you've added the radius of the cutting tip, you need to account for that so that when you slide along it cuts in the right place. I'm going to film whilst I cut this, but the air compressor will probably come on, which is really loud, so we'll see how we get on. No, that should be okay. So there it is. You can see how clean the edge is. This is slag, and it just breaks off like that. You can see how clean the edge is and how straight it is, which is always surprising. Right, there it is. So that is the side. There's a bit of a gap there, but once it's clamped, that will pull out. It's probably down to the sheet not being flat. The other thing I want to do is engrave the logo here, but I'm going to do a deep engrave, and this machine, the laser out there, the deep engrave setting, it takes forever. I mean, it'll probably take it an hour to do a full deep engrave on that. So I'm going to set that off, and we'll see how long it takes. I do want to get a really deep engrave so that when this is painted, you can see it through the paint. So I'm going to set that up now and let that run, and we'll come back in, well, whenever it's finished, and do the rest of it. I can do this one, can't I? Yeah, the next leg, so. Right, let's go laser. This is going to take, I don't know, half an hour. I mean, this is a fast machine, but it's going deep. So I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to go and do something else. I've put these two bits of tape on, and they show, this edge shows where the grill comes to. So I've cut another one of these. So it needs to go there. And obviously this creates something ugly, and I've been thinking about how to solve this. That, where it hangs out, I just think looks hideous. What's going on out there? The laser's doing something, making some squeaky noises. That I just think looks awful. So I'm going to cut an angle on that, and then I need to square that up and weld it, and then cut a sheet to go in there. By the time I do that, the engraver should be done, and then we can put it all in. So I'm just going to cut that angle now. Right, I've done that, and it's kind of wedging in. This plate isn't even clamped, it's just wedged in there. It's quite tight, although actually I get the feeling if I release this clamp it would probably fall out. But so, this thing blading, it needs a little clean. Oh, there we go, so it wasn't clamped. Right, so I'm going to tack it on the inside, and for the actual welding I'm going to do little dots all the way down in here. Rather than doing a full seam weld, I'm just going to do little dots. They almost look a bit like rivets. I think it looks quite nice like that. So I need to quickly make a little template so I get them spaced properly, so they're kind of consistent. But other than that, we're pretty much ready to put those two in. I can't really do this side, because this side here is unsupported. I can't really do that side until this is all done, because it needs to be rigid. So I'm going to go and do that. Right, that's that. These are just tacked. I'll do a proper weld in a minute. So now I need to cut another front and another side, but my phone battery's running out, so I'm going to go put this on the charge upstairs, come back down, cut all that out, and We'll see where we're at when my phone's awake again. Maybe it'll be done, I don't know. Okay, I'm back. The phone is now at 29%, so that's good. So I've done all of this. This is just tacked. It's reasonably rigid as it is, so I'm pretty confident that once the front's in, there will be no problems with the fact that there's nothing under this corner. The Bresero is bigger than I thought. I mean, I knew how big it was going to be, but it's a fairly decent size. Now, what's the next bit? I've got to do the bit at the front. So, funny thing, I either made an error adding everything up, or the company that cut the steel did it wrong. But the offcut, which is this, should fit, but it doesn't. So I've got two options. I can either cut this down the middle and then weld in two pieces separately, or I can weld it in like that, so there's a gap at each side, and then cut the window out. Currently I'm leaning towards that. The other problem, which just came out of the fact that this is just fabricated steel, one of these is slightly further forward than the other, which means when this plate is put in, it's going to be very slightly on the piss, just a little bit. So that's kind of disappointing, but to fix it I've got to cut all these little tack welds, take that off, slice like 3mm off, and put it back on again. And I think by the time I've done that, it's just not worth it. So the next thing is to weld this in, and then turn it onto its end, cut the window. Sorry, I'm not pointing the camera at the thing. The next thing to do is to weld this in, put it on its end, and then plasma cut a window for the poker to go in through, so you can poke. And then that's, in principle, it's done. I just need to then go and weld it. And what I'm going to do, as I said earlier, is I'm going to put little spots of weld down. So instead of running and doing a complete bead, I'm going to put little spots. I'm going to get them very evenly spaced all the way down. And it's going to look neat. So I'm going to put this in. Okay, I've put these welds in. So that's how I'm going to do it. I think that looks nice like that. They're spaced 3 centimeters apart. So the next thing I need to do is do the slot up the middle for the poker slot. So how wide should we make that? Probably 5 centimeters. So I'll mark it out and then we'll cut it with the plasma cutter. Right, so I've set up a straight edge piece of stainless again, although actually it doesn't look that straight. I'm going to have to tweak that before I cut. Put a G-clamp at the top as a stop, and I'm going to start at the bottom. So I'll start where that line is, cut up, and then I'll do the same at the end. And then I'll cut across here and across here in the middle will just fall out, and that will be our pokey window. Okay, right, I've cut the slot with the plasma cutter. It was a bit sparky, and the edge is a bit naff up there, but it's mostly okay. There's a bit of slag there. Get that off. So, the firebox is definitely rigid, so I didn't need to worry about this corner being unsupported. So all I need to do now is go and put the rest of these little tack welds in, these little stitch welds, on the back and everywhere else, and just grind down the top and make it look good. And then we can put the paving slabs in, put the grill on, hope the grill still fits. And then tomorrow, maybe I'll start in a minute, I need to put the supports for the grill on, and the grill bars, I'm going to bend them and then just weld them in from the top. There didn't seem much point putting them in now, really, so I'll put them in later. So, right, I am going to do all the rest of the stitch welds. Okay, that's about it for this section. I've done all the little welds on the patina is really nice on this steel. I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but where the logo is looks great. So the grill does fit, it's close, but it does fit. So the next job is to put the 2 posts on that come up the back for the grill to sit on, and then I need to come up with the mechanism that allows the thing to slide up and down. I'm going to probably put those posts on now because I want to take the time over tomorrow to kind of think about how the height adjustment thing is going to work exactly. I'm pretty sure I know roughly what's going to happen. I need to make sure, I need to fiddle with it and make it, work. So I want to think about it for a while before I do it. So I'm going to put those two posts on now, but I'll put them in another video. So that's it for now. So the next bit is everything that holds the grate up, and then maybe tomorrow I'll put the V basket thing in there and get another paving slab, and we're pretty close to being able to cook on it. So yeah, that's good.